Captain on bridge.
Hey captains, let's talk about Bright Knight. So, a lot of newer players like to hate on Bright Knight because they could never properly compete on her Abyss cycles. She was pretty hard to obtain because she was a Gacha Valk, and then as she got older and as temperatures rose, SS0 became the baseline, making it even harder for those players to catch up, and it was also considered poor investment to build her from scratch so late. So Susanna and probably Hair fixes that by a landslide. They completely blow her out of the water, but the question is at what cost? So a lot of players hate her, but they don't actually understand how she works because they never owned her or never played her. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about her techniques, her pain points, and then I'll end the video with the recent Abyss cycle. So there's probably going to be two different reactions people have after watching this, depending on the type of player they are. I think some people will actually end up liking her, and to those people, I'm sorry you never got to experience her before she died. And then for some others, I don't think you missed much from not owning her because you probably would have hated playing her anyways, so it wouldn't have mattered. So first up is her passive skill, the Paragon Stacks. So if you look at the Queen's Promotion skill, every hit taken grants her Paragon Stack, which boosts self-damage by total damage by 4% and 10 stacks max. So she does maximum damage at 10 stacks and she always starts at 0, so she's a slow starter. And a lot of the runs now, especially at the higher temperatures, require her to get to 10 stacks as soon as possible, otherwise you will miss damage thresholds. 10 stacks is actually a big deal because it's not a linear increase from 1 to 10, because if you look at the checkmate skill, the 10th stack gives an additional 20 total damage. So it's actually a big power spike from 9 to 10, so much that in current Abyss, actually, against her Shift Sentience, a lot of people will not kill if they do not have 10 stacks. So anything less than 10, they cannot kill phase 1, and that's going to tank their score a lot. So this is the first problem that she has. Slow startup and being reliant on stacks. It's not easy to get them. When you fight HOS, you have to ball for them quite a bit. In some runs, you can turn the QTE skill on because she actually gets Paragon Stacks when she enters with QTE. But of course, once you get to 10 stacks, then you don't need stacks anymore, so QTE actually becomes a damage loss because it's not particularly strong. And it's not during burst mode, so Durandal doesn't get her burst mode buffs. You'll see in the current Abyss, QTE on makes me do phase 1 much more easily because you'll have more stacks for the first cleave, and you'll have 10 stacks easily for your second cleave and the AF finisher. But with QTE on, you can't kill phase 2 the fast way because it takes up too much of the DPS window. And then QTE off, of course, the 10 stacks are harder to get in phase 1, so it makes that part harder, but makes phase 2 better. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Alright, so now you know how Paragon Stacks affect her damage. Let's talk about how she can get them. So in the Queen's Promotion skill, you can see if she takes a hit, she gains 1 stack. So that's the baldy part. Attacks that do multiple hits will give you multiple stacks. So it's a way she can get stacks very quickly. So in the HOS fight, there's a particular opener that she does that can get you to 10 stacks instantly. That's the thing that most people ball for when they do this fight. Next up is Retaliation. That's when she shield bashes the enemy. It gives 2 Paragon stacks. And speaking of Retaliation, now's a good time to talk about the difference between Evasion and Retaliation, because they affect Durandal in a huge way depending on which one you do. So here you can see Durandal doing an ultimate evasion. So because she's not getting hit, she gets no stacks, and because she didn't shield bash anything, she also gets no stacks, so she ends up with no stacks after it. And then in this example, she does get hit, so she gets 1 stack, and then because she also retaliates, she's supposed to get 2, but I get 3 because I'm SS2 rank, so 1 and 3, she gets total of 4 stacks. So when you're in burst mode and attacking, and then you want to shield bash with your evasion skill because it's off cooldown, if the enemy is currently attacking you, and you end up doing an evasion instead of a shield bash, it's not good. It's really, really bad because you will not get the stacks. So what happens if you're 10 stacks? Then is it okay to do evasion instead of retaliate? And the answer is no, you still have to retaliate. And the reason why is if you look at these skills, so Joko's Serenity, when you retaliate, Durandal gets 50% bonus physical damage for 8 seconds. And then Evan's Assault, when you hit an enemy with retaliation, that enemy takes 10% bonus physical damage for 10 seconds. So these are two really, really, really big buffs. And the thing is, both of them are very, very short, 8 seconds and 10 seconds. So when you retaliate at the beginning of your burst window, it activates those buffs, and you have to retaliate a second time to refresh it, otherwise it won't last the whole DPS window. So basically, if you ever use evasion, then your damage is over, you have to reset. So now, next question might be, if the enemy is constantly attacking you, and you're worried about performing an evasion instead of a retaliate, can I do a standing block instead of a directional block? And the answer is also no, which is why this Valkyrie is so hard to play. So normally you can stand block and do a cleave, but sometimes it doesn't work. Take a look at this. So next up is the cleave cancel. So this is performed by pressing evade at the end of your cleave, and it'll make Durandal recover faster. So how much of a difference does it make? Here you can see she's doing a cleave and then 5 normals. The second normal is 2 slashes, so it'll be 6 hits total. And then she does a cleave again, and then she does 3 normals, and then the AF finisher, and it barely fits. So if you are slow in any way, or if you're suffering from hit lag, if the boss attacks you and it kind of lags a bit, then it will not fit and you'll lose damage. In this second example, cleave cancel is used for the first and second cleaves, and you can see there's a lot more time remaining. Another example is doing cleave, 5 normals cleave, the finisher, and then an AF active afterwards. So this is actually used in the current Abyss because we need it for the SB restoration. When you do not cleave cancel, it won't fit in the HS buff, so it will do pretty much no damage. And when you do cleave cancel, it does a substantial amount of damage actually, so it's very important that it fits in. The last thing I'd like to talk about is her ability to store her, I guess, her buffed status after she performs a retaliate. So normally outside of burst mode, when you retaliate, you can follow up with a javelin throw. In burst mode, it becomes a cleave. So in burst mode, if you retaliate and then you use AF finisher, for example, and you don't use a cleave, she actually keeps that buff. So after you go back out of burst mode, she can do the javelin throw right after. You have to dodge first before you press the attack button though, which is a little weird. This isn't really that common, but it is used sometimes if she needs to get SP because the javelin throw gives a lot of SP. And with that, I think I said all I wanted to say. At this point, you know everything about Bright Knight, the good, the bad, the frustrating. So when you watch my Abyss run, I think you'll be able to appreciate appreciate it a lot more as a viewer. And I think some of you might wish that you could have played during that era, and maybe some others will see that and be like, wow, even if I had her, that is some stuff I don't ever want to try. And for those people, yeah, you should be really happy that Susanna came out and made things a lot simpler. And I guess Hair too, once it's not Bleed Weather, she'll probably be the leader. And I don't think Hair will be as complicated to play as BK. So before I end the video with the Abyss runs, first thing to note is the first run did not clear because there is an AF active that didn't crit. And I'll quickly show you the difference between the crit and the not crit. It's about 1 millibar worth of damage. And to be honest, I think even if I landed it, I probably still wouldn't have killed, but I'd be able to probably finish the boss off with another AF actor after. And then the score would be like high 730s. Maybe if you balled a bit more, the clean kill is possible, but this is really the limit of my BK's damage. And it took a lot of effort to actually get to this point. If I think about how I played this character on day one, and actually I can see that because I have videos on YouTube, I would do a lot less damage. And that's something that bothers me when people complain about crits and physical Valkyries. I think there is a point when you're doing... There is a point when temperatures are so high that your character needs to do absolute max damage. And then you can complain about crits, because not getting the crit might mean you can't complete the run, which is exactly what happened to me this cycle. Then there's also the perfectionists, where if you don't crit, then you're going to spend more time cleaning up the damage that you missed, meaning it's not going to be your cap score. And I think it's fair for them to complain about crits. But then there's another tier of players that complain about crit and don't want to play physical, but it actually wouldn't make much difference if they did the run. I mean, if you miss a few crits, a bit of cleanup, you might lose at most 5 to 10 points worth, but the run will still complete and the rotation will still work. So there's really no reason to be so fearful or complain so much about crit. I mean, every team comp, even the elemental ones, have a little bit of variance, right? And if you're perfectionist, it's always going to be a little bit annoying. But if you just want to clear, a couple missed crits isn't going to break it. So when some people are crying about crits and that's the situation for them, it's kind of ridiculous to me. If the crits are actually blocking you from completing the run, say you have to do another whole rotation and it tanks your score, then in that case, it's okay to complain about crits, but only if you're playing your Valkyrie optimally. If you're not playing your Valkyrie optimally, then you could probably fix that by just doing more damage, and then the crits become a non-issue again, right? So sometimes you just have to get better at the game on finding out where you can get more damage before you just, jump right to crit blaming. And then the second run is actually successful. It's what I did this Abyss. The only thing to note is that it didn't clean kill phase 1, but it can do it extremely easily. I just, for some reason, didn't want to retry it. But yeah, that one has QTE on. That's why phase 1 is way more reliable. So before I sign off, thanks for watching, and I hope you learned a thing or two about Bright Knight and how the runs work, and maybe it changed your perception of her. Like I said at the beginning, people were bitter about not owning her, but the runs are hard, and I think some people, even if they owned her, they wouldn't have really done well or enjoyed playing her. And then for some other people, I think they would have really liked going through all the hardship and getting a good score with her. So there's both camps, and I think it's easy to watch a video and be like, if I had that character, I could have competed and scored well. But I think most Bright Knight players can say, when you first start, you do really, really badly, and it's easy to blame ranks or crit, but you can improve so much more. And for me personally, I want to give a shout out to Oko, who has been S2 BK forever, and I think he's S3 now. He refuses to get the SS rank, even though he has the frags. When I first started and I got my S0 Bright Knight, I often asked him for help and used some of his videos because he was kind of stuck in the same place as me because we're both weaker than all the SS. And yeah, just learning how to do more damage made me not retain, but it made me rank in Myriad T100 every BK cycle, even though I was S0, never had a problem. It was pretty fulfilling. It's not like the trio cycles at all, where you're S0, you won't be on T100 at all. But BK is a character that you can make T100 if you put in the effort. That's why I value this character so much. And when people talk shit about her, I mean, I don't mind. You don't have to like her, right? But you need to understand why she's likable and not just hate on her for no reason other than the fact that you don't have her. If you did have her, maybe you would have had the same experience as me, where you really get to see the benefits of your hard work and learning how to play the character. So yeah, okay, I definitely talked a lot. So here's the Abyss run that I did for the recent cycle, and I picked the fitting song because she is literally fighting for her life now.
この戦闘は勝たなければいけません。
あなたに絵を描きたい。私の好きな色で。
殴れるよね、殴ってごらん。はあ？廃墟の剣。栄光よ、私と共にあれ。まだまだです。まだまだです。まだまだです。弱すぎ。殴れるものなら殴ってごらん。
ありがとう。お前の分、ちゃんと受け取ってね。
私は全てを変えます。私の目覚めを栄養としましょう。まだまだです。まだまだです。殴れるものがないってごらん。
綺麗だから
はあ？廃墟の剣。私の栄光よ、私と共にあれ。まだまだです。まだまだです。任務クリア。次の場所に行きますよ。